Hello and welcome to Crossing Bridges. Ladies and gentlemen, my guests today are two soulmates, best friends, partner, husband and wife. And for more than 40 years, they have brought joy, laughter to millions of people through their acting ability as well as TV. Today they are here to talk about a documentary film that my guests have made and produced and directed, which will air as a premiere on Friday, August 15th in Lamel 7th Theater, Plaza, Pasadena, downtown Pasadena. I urge all of you, after hearing us today, to go and see the film because it's a wonderful documentary about a wonderful human being who came from Mexico. His name is Emilio Hernandez, nicknamed Tata, a true pioneer, migrating from Mexico, coming to Santa Paula, California, living there for the rest of his lives, and doing so much wonderful things for human beings, and especially uplifting in a positive way immigrants also from Mexico and the Central America to make sure that they will live in peace, harmony, with justice and equality. And furthermore, during our interview, both guests will expand further about that film that will be taking place again on August 15th. At this time, it's my pleasure to welcome the two soulmates, and they are Walter Dominguez. Welcome, Walter.
Thank you.
And to my right, lovely Miss Morrison.
I never saw him before in my life. I don't know who he is.
Walter and Shelley have been married for over 40 years. And if you look at Shelley, you can't believe it. She must have been married when she was 15 years old. She's a beautiful young lady who has really brought so much joy to so many people, as I indicated, in the movie land as well as TV. And one of the most famous episodes that she was in was Will and Grace, that was on the air for 8 years. You might remember her as Rosie, the feisty maid who was so beautiful, hilarious, witty, charming, and she has won Emmys in various categories during her career, and truly a legend, and it's an honor for me to have her here today, as well as Walter. Walter in his own right is a writer, director, producer, has made numerous films, and been giving lectures and seminars following the footsteps of his grandfather, again about justice, peace, equality, humanity, spirituality, soul, and so forth. So today we are going to have a wonderful show, and I will begin now interviewing my wonderful guest. Walter, you and your lovely bride have such a magnificent and dynamic bios and background, and it takes days to really expand on. But we are going to do our very best for the short time that we have to cover the highlights. I know your grandfather was your hero.
Yes.
You were raised by him almost most of your life, and you also came back to Pasadena, went to John Muir High School.
Yes, I did.
And you're alumni from Pasadena. So please give us a little background of yourself briefly, where you were born, your school, your grandfather, and then we go back into the film a bit later.
Okay, wonderful. Well, first of all, thank you very much for hosting us here. If anyone understands the theme and the subject matter of this film and its intent, it's you.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate this opportunity to talk about peace, justice, and humanity, which I think is really the underlying theme of our film, Weaving the Past, Journey of Discovery. Although it focuses on the life, the early life of my grandfather, Reverend Emilio Hernandez, it really is a universal film. It touches on all of the issues that all people can relate to of all ethnic backgrounds. I was born in Santa Paula, California, and that's up here in Ventura County, next county over, in 1947. Lived there for a few years. My grandfather was a minister of a church there. We went on to Mexico City for a year. Folks studied at the university there, and we came back to Pasadena. And I basically grew up in Pasadena, South Pasadena, Altadena, this area. And so this is really my home. And I went to John Muir High School, Elliott Junior High School before that.
Yes.
And then John Muir, and we had a wonderful, wonderful high school experience. At that time, Muir had 4,000 students from all backgrounds. And so we learned to really relate and to enjoy the diversity that we have in this city. So it was a great education for us all. And then went on to Occidental College And then after that, I went into the film industry and got training there with some wonderful, wonderful mentors. Cut to many years later, and we've decided that it's time to revisit the past and do honor to my grandfather, who was such a wonderful man, such a great influence and example. So we embarked on this documentary film. It took us 13 years to finish.
And I love the title, Weaving the Past, Journey of Discovery. When you talk about weaving, I want people to understand, you're really putting it together step by step of a life of a man that I know, as I spoke to you before coming on the show, a hero to you and a hero to many people, but he never wanted to receive any accolades, because heroes never want to get thank you from anyone. They do it because they are self-made heroes. And God bless him, may his soul rest in peace. I also mentioned to you that Viva Zapata, Emilio Viva Zapata, was my hero in a different way, fighting for justice, equality, and I associate your grandfather to him, not revolutionary by killing, destroying perhaps, because Zapata had to do that to fight against the army. But your grandfather did it through his heart, his spirituality, his soul, his mind, his vision, and believing in God. And I know it's going to be a fabulous film. I can't wait to see it. Now let me move over to your lovely bride here. Shelley, it's an honor and pleasure to have you on a show. I truly have seen a number of your films. I've seen Will and Grace numerous times, and you are my hero, and it's a pleasure to sit next to you. So again, just like your lovely husband, you have such a dynamic background, and it takes days.
Oh, we're not going to go through
No,
all
we're
of
not.
it. No, no. They can Google me. Google me. Don't, I don't want to waste time talking about myself. I want to talk about the movie.
That's right. But little bit, please, little bit. I need to, little bit about, you were born in Mexico.
No, I was born in the Bronx. Mexico. I was born in the Bronx. You want me to talk like I talked in the Bronx?
I wanted to get a little comedy pitch in there. I know, you were born in the Bronx.
I used to talk like this. This is the way I spoke. Doing Shakespeare is not too terrific talking like this.
A few years ago, just for
I went to
brief
City
summary.
College. I went to Los Angeles City College. My classmates were James Coburn and Robert Vaughn. This is 1954.
Yes.
And I had a wonderful, wonderful voice teacher, Alice Parashon, who worked with me with a tape recorder to get placement, because I talk like this. Placement. God bless her. Thanks to her, I developed an ear for dialects. So that's why I can play all these different nationalities and different things and do voiceovers for cartoons. And I will only do cartoon voiceovers if it's good for the children. I won't do anything that's violent.
Wonderful.
No, there's enough pollution. Basically, the thing is that after a long career acting, and my God, my union card says member since 1957, and my wonderful husband and the whole thing, and I finished Will and Grace, and yada, yada, yada. Okay, what are we going to do in your last act, Shelley? Then I read something that Dustin Hoffman said. Dustin Hoffman said, people always ask me, what are you going to do in your third act? And Dustin said, do you realize that Shakespeare's plays had 5 acts?
That's true.
So I'm only in my third. I have my fourth and fifth left. So I'm on board to executive produce Walter's film, but he wrote it, he directed it, he produced it, he's in it. And the film is remarkable. The film is so important to be seen today especially. People, all they do is they're on their cell phones and computers. They're not connecting.
Absolutely.
They're not connecting. And this film, I don't care what your background is. I don't care what nationality you are. You're going to find a piece of yourself in this film. You're going to want to go home afterwards and talk to your elders or your youngsters and ask questions, find out about each other, connect.
Absolutely. Yes.
Connect. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll feel. So I was trying to think of a catchphrase to put on, the little posters that you have. And I said to Walter, I said, when is the last time you saw a film that changed your life? and this is that film.
Right.
And we'll be opening August 15th at the Laemmle Theaters in Pasadena for 1 week exclusive engagement. And the reason that we're opening it in Pasadena, my husband's background is here in Pasadena, this whole area. And it's not that we're going to be making a fortune, because we have our own money in this film. We put our money where our mouth is.
Right.
And it took us 12, 13 years to finish the film, so you can't ask someone who's going to be investing in the film to wait that long. But if we can get enough people to come and see the film, some distributors or sales agents will say, hey, and if we can make back some of our money, we can then finish our second documentary.
Absolutely. I'm sure you are going to make not only your original investment, but far more, because I mentioned to both of you, I have read the bio and the background of the movie. And I'm being a humanitarian, just like both of you, I was really touched and moved. I already have taken back to the time that, God bless, Tata, as a nickname you gave your grandfather, what he was living for, what he was doing. Because we all are connected in so many ways. Doesn't matter past, present, or future. And if you associate with someone who has done things that you believe in, it's as though you were there yesterday.
That's a good way of putting it.
That's really true.
That's a good way of putting it.
And I believe also what your lovely bride said, Shelley, about the youth today. There's too much violence. There's too much lack of connection. There's too much history lacking in our society. There's too much lack of understanding, lack of appreciation.
Did I say all that?
You did?
No, I didn't. You just said it.
Of
No,
hard work, dedication.
I said they're into their cell phones.
And the youth need to remember that.
No.
You're absolutely
People
right.
need to remember that, because we all come from roots. And today's children need to know what went on in Emilio's life, his people, what he did to build such a dynamicism in people, so they can perhaps leave the theater that night and say, you know what, I was moved, I was touched. I'm going to go out, do something for humanity. I'm going to start on my roots. So you might take over from here now.
Well, you really laid it out very, very well, because to me that is one of the most rewarding and important things, is to inspire the youth, not only to give older people the experience of learning something new and feeling once again and thinking about their own ancestors and remembering their struggles and how they overcame them, but inspiring those youth. We've invited a group of boys and girls from Boyle Heights to come to a screening. That we provided free passes. It's the Boys and Girls Club of Boyle Heights,
yes.
And they're going to come to one of the screenings. And I'm so excited about that.
That's wonderful.
Because those are the people who really need to understand that they come as a people from a great tradition, as all people do. But to learn, to feel that sense of pride, one needs to understand what people have gone through and how they've overcome.
Absolutely. The youth of today, who are the leaders of tomorrow, it's imperative for them to know about history. In order to repeat good things of history and stop the bad things of history. And the only way they can truly see it is by not only studying it, but film, to me, expands 1,000 ways of rejuvenating memories, history, time. And this wonderful documentary that you have produced with your lovely bride tells that. And that's the key. Because you want to leave the movie theater by saying, oh my God, I was moved, I was touched. I'm innovated, I'm excited. Because I have gone to a number of movies, even though I know perhaps there's cameras or actors acting. But when I leave, and a great acting, they're just like your lovely bride as a part of Rosario. When you watched her, you were mesmerized, really. She made you laugh, she lived the part, it was exciting, and you remember her. So does millions of people. So this is the same thing with this film. I know people are going truly to leave the theater with those inspiration. And we are going to be showing a clip of the movie, and I want to go right now to that clip. Ladies and gentlemen, please watch the clip from the movie that we were talking about, and we'll come back.
Te digo
It was August 1904, and Prox made the decision to leave Mexico. It was too dangerous to stay longer in the country, and he persuaded revolutionary friends to go with him. Tata didn't need convincing. He would have followed Prox to the ends of the earth. Their families were there to say goodbye. They must have felt a mixture of relief for their safety and sorrow they might never return. The rail system Porfirio Diaz built gave them a way to escape to the United States. For Tata, the vision he had at the hacienda was coming true. He was going north. They got jobs right away, working on the railroads. The rails were opening up the immense wilderness of the U.S. Southwest that 56 years before was still part of Mexico. There were jobs everywhere for those willing to work under brutal conditions and work cheap. They moved from place to place and job to job, working the rails, working as lumberjacks on up in Colorado. And they went to California to be longshoremen, unloading cargo on the docks of San Francisco. They became a band of brothers, and always with Prox in the lead.
He did seem to throw himself into workers' movements as he moved across the southwestern United States, from Mexico to Colorado to California, and then ultimately to Arizona, which again had a fairly large Mexican population. This was one of the areas in the United States where there was, near the border, of course. Mexico had long experience in mining, and even you go back to the gold rush, and a lot of the expertise as far as the actual physical labor came out of Mexico.
The work in the mines of Arizona is what made them aware that injustices existed in the U.S. The mining companies took advantage of the lack of legal protections for the Mexican immigrant miners. They practiced a two-tier wage system, paying Mexicans far less than the Americans, even though Mexicans often did the most dangerous work. American miners were provided company housing, but not the Mexicans. American miners could shop at stores and go into bars owned by the companies, but not the immigrant workers. Mines were dangerous places. Lungs never healed. Cave-ins and explosions were frequent. The companies provided at least some medical care for American miners, but the Mexican miners only had each other to rely upon. These injustices led Tata to help Prox organize meetings of workers, and Prox used his eloquence and passion to awaken their political and social consciousness.
Sweaty and panting in the humid bottom of the mine, a man struggles against the rocks while his life is caressed by death, so that some vain people can gild their clothing and their rooms, so that vile misers can fill their vaults, so that his flesh can be exchanged for some metal discs made from the rocks he has brought to the surface by the tons. He works, he works. What does he work for?
Welcome back, and I hope you enjoyed watching the excerpt from the movie Weaving of Past, Journey of Discovery. Walter, if you'd be so kind, give us a little bit of background from your grandfather's migrating from Mexico to Santa Paula, please, if you'd be so kind. At what age, and the transition that he went through, briefly.
He had a remarkable life. At age 5, he was living in a mountain village in central Mexico, very poor family, and his stepfather was abusive. And later I came to have a lot of compassion for that man who was abusive, but nevertheless, it was so bad that my grandfather had to run away. And he ran away into the mountains, and he traveled somehow 30 kilometers through mountains and canyons and arrived at the door of a large hacienda. And that hacienda, the people took him in, and he immediately began to work as a child laborer, which was common back then. They put him to work serving food to the owners and also working as a pastor. There he met a revolutionary, a young man who is the son of the owner of the hacienda. And you have seen in the film a clip of cutting to 10 years later after they've met each other and they've developed this very deep friendship. And he's been influenced by the young man's ideas about how society should be restructured. The haciendas then were basically plantations where the workers were slaves.
Right.
So this young man, although he could have inherited it and he could have gone on just being a wealthy boy, he completely rejected it. So in the film clip, they've gone north to work in the United States and also to escape oppression of the dictator there in Mexico, so they can continue their activities. And from there, my grandfather eventually, I don't want to give away the story,
Yes, of course not.
but there was a tragic outcome, and my grandfather was left destitute and spiritually bankrupt, just devastated. And then from there, his life changed, and he was befriended by people here in Los Angeles on the streets, and his whole life changed, and eventually he got an education, medical care, and everything brought back to life, and he became a minister, and he was a minister for 50 years throughout the Central Valley in Southern California and Arizona, working with migrant workers mainly and other immigrant families.
I think that's enough. Don't go anymore. We want the people to come and see the
Yeah.
movie. Shelley,
Yes.
as a producer, how did you go about selecting actors, actresses to fit the parts, if you'd be so kind?
We used a lot of members of the family.
Okay.
So they would really have a connection to Tata because there would be his grandson,
Yes.
nieces, nephews. Walter did the casting. I was, like I said, I was I was the bad person. I was the one who said, we can't afford that. I was doing Will and Grace during the bulk of the filming of this. And I was the chief cook and bottle washer. I made sure that everybody was happy. We had an extraordinary crew. And just so you have an idea of what this film has been so miraculous, it's been miracles every day. 75% of the crew are people that we have known for over 25 years. So we all, it was like a family thing. And Walter is an extraordinary director in that it's in the details. It's in the details, in the costume. He took everyone to be fitted at the costume house. Everything had to be just, it's in the details. And I remember when I did a few things at Metro, and Vincent Minnelli was still alive and working there. And they always said that Minnelli was always into the detail. And that's my husband. He's in the detail. And you can feel it. You may not notice it right off, but it draws you in. And also, it's a film about Mexicans that have dignity and compassion and reason and want a better world. And it's important for young people to see that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love what you said about La Familia. La Familia is the key to the success and longevity of any society. And what your grandfather did truly built a La Familia that will last for a long, long time. The roots of Santa Paula coming from Mexico, and of course, your lovely background coming from Bronx. has
The
also
Bronx.
the Bronx,
The Bronx.
has built such a wonderful tradition, truly, of love, humanity, humor, great acting, and that will last for years to come. And I'm glad when you said you used family members to do this movie.
He's so cute. Can we take him home?
I will take you home. But it's really, I cannot wait to see this movie, and I mean that sincerely, because I don't want to repeat myself, but ladies and gentlemen, we are three human beings here, both on the same path. I knew of these lovely people by reading their bios. Of course, I knew Shelley through her marvelous acting ability in a number of sitcoms and some movies, but I had the pleasure of meeting Walter today, and as soon as I looked at their eyes, we connected. So what we are sharing with you is not really to sell a movie, it's not trying to make money, rather than to tell you people who really care for people do something visionary like Emilio Hernandez Tata for you and your children. And it's an opportunity for you to say, my God, my son, my daughter, let's go see that movie, because sometimes the movies speak 1,000 language, 1,000 words that we cannot eloquently do. So that's the opportunity. August 15th, Friday night, at LeMail Theater. There's 7 theaters downtown Pasadena, and it'll go on for 1 week. So I truly urge all of you to go. And also, if you're watching, teachers, directors of schools, make it a school outing and let the students go and see it, because it's marvelous for all ages. We only have a couple of minutes to go, Walter. If you'd be so, in the next 30 seconds, give us a little bit more pitch about the movie.
Well, I don't think I could say anything more wonderful than you have just said. I am so pleased. But yes, this is a film that a family can come to. It's a 2-hour film, so maybe the little ones, it may be a little too long for them, but definitely the older kids. And they will learn, they will feel, as Shelley said, they will laugh, they will cry. You'll come away feeling satisfied, feeling like something has changed in you, and you'll be glad you came. So please do come.
Absolutely.
We want everybody to be there. Thank you.
Feel a sense of pride.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Feeling a sense of pride. There aren't too many films out there. I know whenever I get a script that they're going to do, finally they're going to do a show about Mexicans, a comedy show, and I know that it's going to be, come on, come on. Jeez Louise. And so when there's finally a film about Mexicans that they're...
This breaks all the stereotypes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's no stereotypes here.
Hispanics. Shelley, I have to say a few words to the viewing audiences. Ladies and gentlemen, this lovely lady and a bride of this handsome man is very modest. Let me mention some of the names. Gregory Peck, Anthony Quinn, William Holden, Barbara Streisand, and the list goes on and goes on. She's modest, truly, but she's a legend in my eyes and millions of people, as is Walter. I promise you, by going to see that movie, you're going to be touched for years to come, and you're going to say, I'm glad I watched the show today, Crossing Bridges. You were blessed to meet these 2 beautiful soulmates, and I promise you, you are going to say, Nat Nadar, thank you for having them on your show. I want to thank you all for your time, for joining in. And remember, we are all human beings. Doesn't matter what background, gender, color, nationality, religion. We are children of God, and truly, we are connected. We've been connected from the beginning of this life, and we will be always connected throughout this life. So let us make this movie a sensational movie for all. Thank you for tuning in. God bless you all. Have a wonderful day.